Welcome back to the Other Side of 45 podcast. I'm your host, Randy Black. This podcast is about taking chances, owning my mistakes, addressing generational family trauma, completing my 50/50s by 50 list, and my life as a single empty nester, which is the subject of today's podcast. As a single empty nester, I am alone much of the time. When I turn home from work, there's no one waiting for me. Unless I go to work, there are days when I speak to no one. It's not a bad thing. It's just the life of a single empty nester. I try to avoid calling my daughters when conversations are at a none. They are both thriving in college, according to their social media accounts. I've yet to really establish a routine. I do whatever I do when the day comes. This weekend was no different. I returned home from spending the day making deliveries doing my gig job. While making deliveries, I had the pleasure of speaking with my oldest. We caught up on what's going on campus. Later that evening, I had the second pleasure of speaking with my youngest daughter. She was at the train station and asked if I could pick her up after the birthday dinner she was attending with a friend. She asked if she didn't find a ride, if I would pick her up. Of course I would. I received a text that she had a ride. I continued with my non-eventful evening and eventually went to sleep. I got up around 1 a.m. to go to the bathroom. I didn't think I would be able to fall back to sleep immediately, so I turned on the Andy Griffith Show. I love that show. It's just corny enough to keep me interested, but not distracted. Side note, season 2 is one of my favorite seasons. Check out episode 11, The Pickle Story. Okay, that episode is about Aunt Bee making homemade pickles that taste like kerosene. It's hilarious. Okay, so anywho, I settled back into bed to watch the show. But I hear a strange sound that doesn't match what's on TV, even though I really couldn't see the TV because I didn't have on my glasses. I mute the sound so that I can figure out what I'm hearing. It kind of sounds like scratching. My first thought is that it's a mouse, but I realized that it couldn't be a mouse. I was actually hoping it wasn't a mouse. So I unmute the TV, but then I hear it again. At this point, I'm sitting straight up, and I'm very nervous. I mute the TV, and it's clear the sound is coming from the front door. It sounded like someone was turning the doorknob. Thoughts are racing through my head. There's someone at the door, and I'm hoping that they are on the other side of the door. I get up, and I walk to my bedroom door, which is open, and I see what I was hoping I wouldn't see. A dark figure appearing to stare back at me. I'm afraid, but know that I must do something. My glasses and phone are on my nightstand. I'm afraid to move to get them. I decide at this point, I'm going to fight. Despite not having a weapon, the figure didn't appear to be leaving, nor did they say anything. My body is shaking. I thought maybe I can scream, "Get out!" and possibly scare them into leaving. Maybe I can close the door and lock it and run out the back. But I don't want to leave. I want to approach this person. I don't know why that was what my thought was. I mean, I have neighbors on both sides of me, and I could scream and possibly wake them. But for some reason, I didn't want to do that. I don't know. I felt this was something I needed to do. Although I've only been a single empty nester for a few months, I've always been the protector of my family as a single parent. I had to face the scary monsters, unusual sounds, and any person or thing that threatened the safety of my children. I didn't grow up afraid. I was very fortunate in that regard because I know others cannot say the same. I don't have brothers, but several male cousins. Mother remarried when I was very young. My stepfather is like 6'4", and I never felt that the house was vulnerable for criminals. As a matter of fact, I never really felt vulnerable as a child. as far as being safe is concerned. I never viewed my male relatives as protectors, but knew if I found myself in a situation that I needed backup, they would provide it. I was usually surrounded by uncles, cousins, or my grandfather. They were all mechanics or learning to be mechanics. My grandfather was a strong man, about 6 feet tall. As a young child, I would watch him lift heavy car parts, and I swear I saw him lift a car. I mean, as an adult, that sounds unreasonable, but I'm sticking to that because I really think I saw him lift a car. My cousins and I chopped wood with an axe, so I felt strong. My grandfather insisted that my male cousins do most of the wood chopping, and they were tasked with filling the wood box. But some of those wood pieces were heavy, and I took delight at lifting them. Well, I mean, I knew the saying that men were stronger than women. I didn't actually think I fell into that category. And as I grew into adulthood, this false sense of strength didn't go away. And I still felt that way when I was married. Not having grown up with brothers, I didn't know that boys and men had this thing about wrestling. I found this little gem out when I was married, and my husband would frequently wrestle with me. I wouldn't find myself tussling with him, but I was always the victor. I would gloat at my victory and tease him about losing to his wife. It was funny. This was common. It's a common thing, but on this one day, my then husband realized that I wasn't just gloating. I was serious. After yet another victorious match, I did my usual laugh and taunt. My then husband didn't think it was funny and replied, "You do know I let you win." This caused me to laugh more, and I teased him. This went on for a few short minutes before he said, "I'm stronger than you." I laughed again. He again didn't think it was funny and set out to prove me wrong. I was up for the challenge. As a matter of fact, I welcomed another victory. Only this time, I was not victorious. He pinned me down and I struggled to get free. It became obvious that I was not going to get up. The worst part about it, he did so with just one arm. He released me, and I, for the first time, felt vulnerable. To be clear, I was not in danger. He didn't hurt me. He explained that he didn't want to hurt me, and that's why I always won our matches. I realized at that moment that I was not as strong as my skinny husband. It was a wake-up call I was not expecting. It changed my view. I was never the same after that day. I was in my early 20s when this happened and didn't have much experience and was clearly naive. I learned that women in abusive relationships were not allowing men to abuse them. Believe it or not, until that day, I used to say in response to hearing about a woman in an abusive relationship, "Why did she let him hit her?" This interaction taught me it's not just that men were physically stronger, they were also mentally abusing these women. And I made sure I told my daughters about this interaction with their father. I taught them to look for red flags and to protect themselves. My male cousins to this day are protective of us. We attended a relative's wedding this past June. My cousins and their male children were there, and some of them met my girls for the first time. They assured my girls that if they found themselves in a situation with a man, not to hesitate to contact them and they would handle it. They were not joking. This is a common thing in my family, and I personally know of situations where my cousins made good on that promise. I hope the girls never find themselves in need of this type of protection from my well-meaning cousins. As the only parent in the home, I knew one of my roles was to keep them out of harm's way. This was not something I took lightly. Fortunately, there were few instances that I had to square up to a stranger to protect my children. As a matter of fact, I can only recall one time in which I felt that I may need to get into a physical altercation to protect my girls. The girls and I were headed downtown Atlanta on the train to attend the New Year Eve's peach drop. The train was crowded, and I was watching a man who was getting close to my daughters. I kept my eyes on him as he inched toward them. When he got too close, I stepped in between him and my girls, and I looked at him square in the eye, and I said, "Get away from my daughters." He hesitated. I think he was surprised, but he retreated. I've never been afraid to protect him. And I've been known to say I'm not easily intimidated and I don't scare easily. And it's true. And this Saturday was no different. There I stood in my nightshirt, no glasses, no weapon, but ready to square up with this intruder. My body was shaking. A million thoughts were racing in my head. I slowly walked toward the intruder, since the intruder was not budging. Then I adjusted my poor vision and realized the figure looked familiar. I mustered up enough courage to say my youngest daughter's name. She responded, "Yeah." I flipped the switch and there she stood at the door. I was still shaking. And I said, "Why didn't you call and tell me you were coming home? You scared me." My hands were still shaking as I looked down at them. She responded, "I thought I told you." She had not. My stomach was in knots, and this beautiful child of mine says, "You should sit down and calm down." Really? That's what she got out of this? I said, "You should have called. It's 1 o'clock in the morning. I was about to fight you." And it's true, I was. She seemed unfazed as she grabbed a few pieces of leftover Halloween candy and went upstairs. I told her to grab a space heater because I was about to turn off the heat. I was both hot and cold. If you're a woman of a certain age, you know what that means. She responded, "I already got it," and went to her room. A few things came to my mind after this encounter. 1, I was ready to fight an intruder. 2, she had already been in the house, grabbed the heater, gone upstairs, came back down without me knowing that she was even there. And 3, I should buy a bat. I'm proud of myself. As my daughters continue to grow into adulthood, they will eventually graduate college and move into their own homes, and I will be okay living alone. I'll get a bat and face intruders. I'll put my Christmas tree up when I'm good and ready, and I was ready November 7th. Go to the other side of 45's Instagram to see the picture of the tree, and soon you'll see Christmas decoration, the wreaths, crafts, and gifts as I begin Christmas 2021. After I replayed this incident in my head, I don't know what type of fighting the intruder and I were going to be engaged in. When I stepped forward, all I could think was, that girl was kung fu fighting. Those kicks were fast as lightning. I don't know why that was stuck in my head. I don't know kung fu. Regardless, the probability of me remarrying at my age and stage are slim to none. So it is comforting to know, living alone, I will be just fine. Just like the great Mary J. Blige says in the theme song for my life, I like what I see when I'm looking at me, when I'm walking past the mirror. Don't stretch through the night, at a time of my life, ain't worried about if you feel it. Got my head on straight, I got my vibe right. I ain't gonna let you kill it. You see, I wouldn't change my life. My life's just fine. Meet me on the other side of 45's podcast, blog, and Instagram. New episodes will be released every Monday.